Hi everyone, I'm Drashti Shah and welcome to the very first video on this channel. So this is a space where I break data into a simple and practical way. So if you are a data nerd like me, or you run a business and you want to understand your customers better, or you work in the analytics just to pay your bills and your boss said do a cluster analysis, then this video is for you. So cluster analysis basically groups people based on what they find important. And instead of trying to treat their customers the same way, companies actually use cluster analysis to identify segments and then give their customers a personalized experience. In this video, I'll explain what cluster analysis actually is in a very simple way, and then I'll walk you through a demonstration of how to do it with a sample airline dataset that I have. And by the end of this video, you'll be able to understand how clusters are formed and why they are so important for marketing. So let's get started. So as I said, cluster analysis is a technique used to group people or items based on similarity. Instead of treating every customer as if they are all the same, clustering helps us uncover natural segments based on what they care about or how they behave. Think of it like this: if two customers consistently show the same preferences or make similar choices, they naturally fall into the same group. But if someone has a completely different pattern, they belong in a different group. The reason this matters is because businesses make better decisions when they understand their different customer types. Some customers may be driven by price, some by aesthetics, and some by brand loyalty, and others by convenience or functionality. The major benefit here is that clustering reveals structure in your data that you wouldn't notice just by scanning rows and columns. It condenses large amounts of information into meaningful segments that are much easier to understand and much easier to act on. Now that we understand what clustering does and why it's so useful, let's actually run a cluster analysis using a real dataset. Let's move to Excel now. Alright, so here's our data set, and let's start with conducting a cluster analysis. So the very first step is to identify the question. Here it says that the following data is ratings of importance of features of airline customers, where 1 represents most important while 5 represents least important. Now what we have to do is use this information to conduct a cluster analysis using 5 clusters. And then we have to provide a description of each cluster and a recommendation of how an airline should market to each segment. Now I'll leave this part for you guys to do. For now, we will be doing the cluster analysis using 5 clusters. So yeah, let's start. Now for the actual analysis, our first step will be to analyze the data. Here we can see that there are about 16 customers. These are the features, like the variables, and then these are the ratings that the customer has given for each feature about how important it is to them. Now the next step is to standardize the data. For that, we'll copy this table to a new sheet, and to standardize the data we need 2 elements. They are mean and the other one is standard deviation. So we will just type it here, and then what we're gonna do is copy these variable labels from here and paste it here. Now to find mean, we will use the formula of equals average, because yeah, that's basically the easiest formula to find mean. And then we'll select the range for that respective variable and press enter, and there we have it. Now we will just drag it till the last variable, and to find standard deviation we will use the STDEV formula, not P naught as the normal one, and we'll do the same. We will select the range for cost, press enter, then drag it, and there we have it. Now I like to decrease the decimal to 2, just looks better that way. So our third step is to standardize all this data, and for that we need to add some columns here. So there are 2 ways you can do it. You can just type it manually like this, like Z cost, or this is how I do it. Just type Z somewhere around here, and then you can do equals and then select the cell reference, and then we are going to lock it with F 4. Then we will type end, and then we will select this one, and don't lock this one because we are going to drag it. Now we have 1 2 3 4 5, so we will drag it to 1 2 3 4 and 5. There you have it. Now we will find set scores for all of these variables. So the formula for this is equals bracket the original score divide by the mean, log the row here, bracket close, then divide it by the standard deviation. Log the row again and press enter. There you go. Now we will drag it across and then we'll drag it down. So here we have all the set scores. Now for step 4, we are going to set up a cluster table. So for that we need to copy these and paste it somewhere around here, and then we are going to leave a row empty above that. I'll tell you later why. Now we will add 2 more columns. I'll name one cluster number and customer number. Now we will just add number 1 2 3 4 5 as we need 5 clusters. We'll do same here. This is gonna change, but don't worry about it now. And don't forget to keep saving your work. You don't want to lose all these. Okay, now we're gonna move to the next step, which is performing VLOOKUP for all these variables. And the formula is VLOOKUP. Lookup value will be the customer number. We will log the column here, then comma. For table array, we are gonna select all the values on this variable table, and we will log the whole table array because we don't want it to move, then comma. And then for column index, as we are looking for z cost, it is here 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 on the 7th column, so we will type 7, then comma, and we will select false, that is exact match, and then enter. Now remember we kept this row empty, so what we're gonna do here to make it easier for us is we don't want to type the column index for each of these variables, so we can just type it here 7, then flight availability is in 8, and so on. So what we can do here now is, instead of typing this 7, we can take this cell as reference, lock the row here, and press enter. Now you can drag it across and then till the bottom. Now to check it, we can just make it all once and see we have all the same values. Let's move to the next step where we'll find some differences for all 5 clusters. For that we need to go here. Because we are using 5 cluster analysis, we need to type 2 5. Now the formula for this is equals sum of x minus y, and we square it. Then for array x, we select the first row of our z scores and we will lock the column here, comma. Now we need to compare it with the first cluster data. So from our cluster table, we need to select the first row of set scores, and then again we will lock both rows and column and then press enter. Don't drag it across yet. Now here's why I told you not to drag it across yet, because the first column, for some difference of cluster 1, it is comparing with the values of cluster 1. Now for 2, we need to take the values of cluster 2. If we drag it right now, it will take all the same values and it will still compare with the first cluster, and we don't want that. So what we'll do is we'll keep the row part as it is, and we will just move this to second, press enter, copy the same thing to 5, again change the cluster data for this one, enter. We'll do the same for 4 and 5. See, now you can drag it easily to the bottom, and there we have it. Now if you want to check this again, you can do the same thing, make all of this one, and see, all of it will be the same. So yeah, let's revert it. Now the next step is to find the minimum out of all these these clusters, and for that we'll make a new column, minimum distance. The formula to find that is equals minimum, and then we'll just select the first row. No need to lock anything here. Press enter and drag it till the end. Now, how do you tell someone that which cluster does this belong to? To do that, we need to find the cluster match. Type cluster match here. The formula to find that is equals match. The lookup value is to find the minimum distance, so we'll select the first cell of it. For lookup array, we will select the first row of some differences and then type 0 because we want an exact match, and press enter. Just drag it down. For this first 5, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 because obviously the zeros are here, we can see, and almost all of them are in 2. Now that we have cluster matches, we move to the main part of it, which is running the solver. For that, in a cell here, maybe we will type sum of differences here, and we will use the sum formula to add all these minimum distances here and press enter. Now this is what we need to calculate, like we need to minimize this. Click on this value, then go to your data tab and you will find solver here. If you do not have this, let me know and I'll make another video on how to add solver to your data tab. For now, let me show you how to use this. We will click on this. For objective, we will select this cell here. We will keep it minimum because we want to minimize the sum of differences. And then for changing variable cells, we need to select customer numbers here in our cluster table. Then we need to set some constraints. We will click on add. Now these constraints depend based on your data, but since we have 16 customers here, we will keep it as less than or equal to 16 because we have data for only 16 customers. Then we click on add. Now we also don't want these to go below 1, so the next constraint will be the same cell references greater than or equal 1. Then again add. Since we don't want these to be fractions, we will click integer and then add it. So here are our constraints. Now we will select evolutionary because this is the best method, and we want to keep this box checked here because we do not want negative numbers here. Now we click on solve. So it's gonna take some time, but we'll get there. Alright, so it's done, and this is the window that will pop up after the solver runs. It says solver cannot improve the current solution, all constraints are satisfied, so we will keep this solution. Click OK, and okay, this is actually a really nice output as the error is really low. So now we're actually done with the analysis part. There is some beautification and some more details that you can add to this, which I think I'm gonna fast forward for you guys. It can take some time for that, but I'm gonna show you a really nice method. So what I did here is I just took the values from here, data labels, pasted it here, give it a name, cluster 1, and we're gonna need averages, so that, and numbers. Now we're gonna use if formula here. We can also do it in the same sheet. Let me show you that way. Let's do it here for now. Then we need to find cost, so we will say if, we'll select cluster match, so if this here, then we'll lock the column is equal to 1, then you put this information in this cell. If not, then just type 2 inverted commas that will tell it to leave it blank and enter. So now as you can see, this cell is, it left it blank because the cluster here is 4 and we are doing it for cluster 1, as we typed it in this formula that if this particular cell here is equals 1, then only put the value of cost. If not, then leave it empty, so it left it blank. Now we just drag it across like we have been doing it, and then down. So it showed us customer number 6 and customer number 11. Here we can see that for customer number 6 and customer number 11, we have cluster match 1. That's why it showed us this. Now you can just copy paste the same structure for all 5 clusters. And I'm gonna fast forward this and change the formulas and a few things for you. So I think these look good now. Now if you just want to cross check it, we can see that for customer number 2, it popped up some values. So here we can see that it's 5 here for customer number 2. So you can cross check some other values like that. Like for this, for 10th, it shows cluster 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9th and 10th. And see, it has cluster number 3 here. So this way you can cross check it. Now we move forward for further visualizations and grouping. We need to copy one of these again, paste the value somewhere here. We can call this table a total summaries table or whatever you want to call it. We'll just add cluster number here and change this to total customers in the cluster. Now we type 1, 2, 3, 4, and now to find the total customers in the cluster, we're gonna use the COUNTIF formula. So we type COUNTIF, select this range, comma, we are going to keep it greater than 0 and then press enter. So it gave us 2 because as we can see only 2 customers are in cluster 1, and we'll do the same for all these. First I'll just drag them down and then I'll just change the references here for cluster 3, cluster 4 and for cluster 5. Alright, there we go. Do not forget to save. Now if you just want to cross check, you can add all these and it should be 16 because we have 16 customers in total. So they are all divided based on their choices. And for this data we will just do equals, and now we're going to use these averages and then drag it. And we're gonna do the same for all these clusters. Keep 2 decimals. Now I'm just gonna beautify this a bit and then show you all again. That is totally optional and you can do it however you like. I'm just gonna show you one way to do it. Alright, so this is how it looks now. I just gave it some colors, made the text center aligned, and yeah, you can go ahead and format these as well. Another thing you can do is copy these cluster blocks into another sheet to make it more neat. Yeah, that's it. We are done with our cluster analysis using 5 clusters. Now for the write-up and the recommendation part, I'll leave that for you guys. If you want to make it, let's say 4 clustered or 3 clustered, let me know in the comments below and I can show you a very easy way of how to do it with using the same sheet in my next video. So here's another version of the same problem that I solved earlier. So this is how you can make the write-up and recommendations. So one more thing I want you guys to know is every time you run the solver, it will give you new solutions. So it can be a bit different than what I just did. Okay, so that's how you run a cluster analysis in Excel. If you want a video where I break down the theory behind what we did, like how the distances work, why the z-scores matter, and the logic behind grouping, let me know in the comments and I'll make that the next video. If you have any doubts about this while watching, if you don't understand anything or if you're confused, just ask me in the comments and I'll reply to it. If this helped you, feel free to like, subscribe, and share. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.